Welcome back, Wolfpack. Verlis here, and today we're going to be talking about something very important from the Junichi Masuda Famitsu interview that happened last month, and it's about Alolan Pokemon, so let's kind of refresh our memory as to what's going on right here. That reminds me, around May 30th's Pokemon press conference, there were some rumors that players may be able to befriend Alolan form Pokemon as well. Is there any way to catch these Pokemon aside from bringing them from Pokemon Go? Masuda, Alolan Pokemon will not appear wild in the game. As such, they cannot be caught in-game. However, it's possible to acquire them through means outside of Pokemon Go. I can't say exactly how to get them yet, but I will say that you get them through something that's pretty well established part of the mainline Pokemon series. Probably. Now, that is super vague and super crazy, because why can't he say it yet? Yeah, even as of July, even as of now in late August, we don't even know what this mechanic is, even though it's something that's already inside the games. So they're going to be revamping a crazy feature? Are they just going to be adding more gameplay elements from other Pokemon games? I don't really know what to make of this, and honestly, we gotta leave that for another video. Maybe as we get a couple more hints or something, or maybe if we dig through all the interviews and all the information, we might be able to figure out what it is. But this isn't about that. This is about Alolan Pokemon, because right now, my best guess is that these Pokemon are either going to be available from, like, in-game trades, because that's a pretty well-established part, or maybe just events. Like, it could be something that existential from the game, or that, you know, that obscure, but it would make sense, because, hey, you can't catch them in the wild, so the obtaining method is either going to be, like, online distribution, again, that's pretty main series as well, or something else inside the game. But just in case, why don't you just catch them now? Because Pokemon Go transfer is confirmed, and that is going to be a confirmed way of getting the Alolan Pokemon inside your game as well. So if you can get as many Alolan Pokemon as possible, I would hold on to them. Also, when talking about Pokemon Go Park, it sounds like a Pokemon CP that you have inside of Pokemon Go is going to transfer over in a fairly direct way. That it will need to be recalculated for just the game's mechanics inside of Pokemon Let's Go, but it sounds like since there's a recalculation, it's roughly going to be the same, and again, I guess that's another thing I need to do a video on. There's a lot of details that people aren't really going super deep into about these games that have some massive implications for the better, so let's see what we have now. Go Park is a method by which you bring Pokemon over from Pokemon Go into Let's Go games. Pokemon that you have on hand can be brought over. It must be recalculated to fit within the game, so no, Pokemon CP will not necessarily remain the same. Pokemon with high CP value in Go will have a relatively high level after being brought over to the Let's Go games. So that just kind of shows that, hey, if you level up your Pokemon in Go, they're going to be higher level when you bring them over into Pokemon Let's Go. So that's another thing, like, I don't know what the exact confirmation is, like if that means it's just recalculating CP, or if they're going to re-roll IVs or something, or if it's just going to be directly bringing them over, but your strong Pokemon that you have, like your strong Alolan Pokemon in Pokemon Go, might be worth holding on to, and then just try to get as many of them as possible, because these Pokemon are going to be pretty strong when it comes to playing competitively in Let's Go. Outside of Mega Gyarados, Alolan Pokemon are going to be the only Dark types in the game, and it's only the original 151, where Psychic was fairly strong in the first generation. Now, there's been a lot of changes to the game, you know, Ghost works properly, Dark types being introduced, just the overall power level of Psychic Pokemon is dropped off over time, and it looks like it's going to be pretty fair and balanced right now, but if you still like fear Psychic type Pokemon, or if people just start camping the Alakazam, camping the Slowbro, camping the Starmie, then your access to the Dark type Pokemon is going to be through Alolan, and also depending on how many people are going to be using this other gameplay method for obtaining Alolan Pokemon, you might have an advantage by just having a surplus. You can trade for whatever you want, or you're just going to find players that aren't going to be ready to like battle Alolan Pokemon because they don't have any themselves, or something like that. So Alolan Raticate. I was trying to think of some interesting matchups with it, because Dark Normal on paper is really good, because there's going to be a lot of Gengar as well. So you're immune to Ghost, you're immune to Psychic, so you're going to be immune to some of the strongest Pokemon inside the games. Unfortunately, that's just typing. Alakazam is going to outspeed you and then use a Focus Blast, and then you're going to die. But if you want to take that 30% gamble, or maybe that's what the game kind of boils down to, then Alolan Raticate is still okay. I was even looking into some other matchups, and unfortunately, Alolan Raticate just drops off ever so slightly. Now, I'm also kind of following the logic from the recent trailer, where it looks like there's not going to be abilities or held items, so everything's just going to be done in like the most neutral state possible. We already have Nature's confirmed though, so we can definitely use those. And I was trying to like look at some of the matchups. So Starmie. what about Starmie? Like, we have extra bulk on the Alolan Raticate, so using it as a, response Pokemon, you know, revenge Pokemon or something, you might be able to come in and do some massive damage, or at least tank, or get some kind of momentum. That if it forces a Starmie out, you're getting free damage and a prediction opportunity, or if Starmie stays in, you're just going to be able to hurt it. Unfortunately, 71 attack, not going to be enough to KO the Starmie. That hurts. That sucks. But also, if Starmie is using Scald, then it's not going to be able to 2-hit KO you. So it's a 3-hit KO on the Scald. Hydro Pump is a 2-hit KO, but again, that's accuracy. Depends if they're playing that or not. So you actually win the matchup against other Psychic-type Pokemon, which is pretty cool. And even if we look at the Alakazam, so how hard do we hit the Alakazam? Hard enough to KO on that Alolan Raticate Crunch, mostly because the hit points and defenses are just pitiful. Starmie has a little bit of that natural bulk, but then the Focus Blast, we don't even need to look at it. 4 times super effective. It is done. Hypno, so other Pokemon like Hypno might get some play, but overall we still have, you know, not enough to KO. So unless Alolan Raticate receives a buff, it's gonna be decent. Like, some people might be able to pick it up if they need like that dark type option on their team. And again, it just responds to the Gengar really well. So Gengar, being the frail Pokemon that it is, we're going to, let's just do the blank set. We're gonna be able to find a highish chance of KOing it, depending on like what the Gengar setup is. But overall, it has some decent matchups against some of the Pokemon that we're expecting to see, so Alolan Raticate might be worth holding on to. Alolan Raichu is interesting because no abilities, no Surge Surfer, which also, as we go down the list, pretty much all of these Pokemon are made better, you know, like it's a shuffling of the stats, but a lot of the Gen 1 Pokemon, they didn't have the greatest stats, so it's usually giving them like a really good typing or a really good ability to just kind of offset their underleveled, like, no power creep, or not underleveled, but, you know, underpowered, no power creep, Gen 1 originalness going on. But that's like how we see the abilities come in. However, that's going to make them more balanced when playing with other Kanto Pokemon without abilities, without items. So yeah, we had, you know, the Galvanize. That's what made the most insane explosion we've ever seen. Actually, Muck. Not, like, the Gluttony is pretty good, but Power of Alchemy and stuff like that, like, there's some combos, but it doesn't absolutely break the Pokemon. But then we're looking at Pokemon like, you know, Slush Rush on the Sand Slash, so that made it work. Snow Warning, definitely, like, the OP on the Ninetales. You set up that Blizzard, you're good to go. Tingling Hair, maybe not so much, but Sandveil, Sandforce, you're actually able to stack extra damage onto the Alolan Dugtrio, and then no Surge Surfer, but Raichu actually received a buff since Generation 1. So Generation 6, base Raichu just went from 100 base speed to 110, and then Alolan Raichu, 5 more special attack. Okay. So it's slightly weaker on those physical attacks, and then slightly tankier special defense, special attack, and does a little bit more damage. So it's just looking like the superior Raichu in every way. So if you plan on running Raichu, or if you want to run Raichu, pick yourselves up the Alolan Raichu. Going to need it, and that's kind of what we're looking at right here. So Alolan Raichu, it's going to get Stab, so you're actually getting that Psychic power coming in, and then we're talking about extra Psychic Pokemon being added in with a decent amount of speed, and kind of low special attack, but overall, since we're not dealing with like crazy items and power creep and stuff, Alolan Raichu is just going to outspeed and two-shot a lot of things, and then outspeed the response, and then add damage to it. And if there's a super effective hit, Alolan Raichu is going to be just fine. So pretty good Pokemon in its own. Not really too much to say about the Sand Slash, except it is Steel. So there's not a lot of Steel-type Pokemon. We have Magnemite, Magneton. And Magneton isn't even its final form, but that's all we get in 151. So because of that, Sand Slash, it's a nice Steel option. You get to hurt Grass-type Pokemon. You get to wreck Grass-type Pokemon. You get to do some to Dragon-type Pokemon. You're alright against Fairies and stuff like that. Clefable, though, that's going to have a Flamethrower. So you can still expect that. But overall, good typing. It's just that it doesn't have the bulk that we kind of need. Like, it looks like it's going to be a ridiculous tank Pokemon, and it does have some nice things behind it, you know. 100 on the attack, 120 on defense, but you're still going to be pretty frail on those special attacks. And 100 attack, it's alright, you do an Icicle Crash and things are going to go okay. So it's not going to be amazing, but it does give you that Steel option if you're looking for it. The Alolan Dugtrio. So, Dugtrio is pretty frail, and the Alolan Dugtrio takes an unnecessary nerf. So effectively, you're trading speed to have the fastest Steel-type attack in the game. Again, we're not really competing with much. So 110, so one of the fastest Pokemon in the meta, being able to rock an Iron Head for super effective coverage and stuff, that's pretty good, and find some decent matchup stuff, and then only 100 on the attack. However, like I said, we're not dealing with like over-tuned attacks all over the place, so Dugtrio might find some survivals that it might not have, and doesn't need to be completely reliant on the Focus Sash, or just run regular Dugtrio, because it's generally always been useful in kind of a way. So I was looking at some of the matchups. Alolan Ninetales, you get that one base outspeed, and then you just get to dunk on it. So if Alolan Ninetales becomes a problem, Alolan Dugtrio is going to be a desirable Pokemon to have. Also, again, it just brings speed. You have a fast Earthquake that does good damage. Like, look at that, that's two-shotting. So a Blizzard. This is going to be a neutral Blizzard from an Alolan Ninetales. In theory, let's just, like, get rid of the accuracy game or something. You know, that Blizzard lands while you're outspeeding, two-tapping on the Earthquake. So 100 base attack, 100 base power, you're going to be matching up against a lot of the average Pokemon and just two-shotting them. So you outspeed Iron Head KO, outspeed finishing off with an Earthquake KO, Sucker Punch if you need the priority or the coverage. It's going to be pretty good. And then let's actually see Gengar. I didn't look this one up yet, but I feel like this could get interesting. So Gengar, Shadow Ball. Oh, if we take off the Life Orb. This is what I'm talking about, guys. Remove the Life Orb. Gengar's Shadow Ball doesn't KO. Focus Blast does, but Focus Blast, we've already kind of discussed that a little bit. So you're in a speed tie. If you win, you just nuke it on an Earthquake. Like, that's okay. Yeah, Dugtrio is going to be pretty good when you think about it. And it's also going to be pretty good to have the Alolan Dugtrio. So it's like, do you want the coverage or do you want more of the speed? Because the Dugtrio comes in, outspeed's dead, no Life Orb to worry about, Shadow Ball. Like, even if, like, I'm trying to think about some shenanigans, guys. Like, there are some shenanigans that could happen, and that would spice things up quite a bit with, like, these Dugtrio matchups and stuff. So overall, good Pokemon, desirable, and if you want to wreck Ice-type Pokemon, this is going to be your boy, or anything that Steel is going to be pretty strong against. Going back to some of the other Pokemon that we have on the regional variants, Persian. Alolan Persian is fast, and it's dark. So you get, like, a quick foul play, you get to do some cheeky stuff with it. It doesn't have... Like, it didn't really do much, but it's also, like, strangely bulky, but it lacks a lot of damage. Like, okay, 60 attack. Not doing much there, but a 115 speed. That's outspeeding the upper class of Pokemon that we see. So you're going to be able to do, like, outspeed foul play. Just cheese it that way. We also have, like, some interesting moves that we might be able to, like, use to our advantage. Fake Out. So just Fake Out, play rough, just using like little bits and pieces to chip away at your opponent with speed. Maybe a good cleanup Pokemon. If you're running like a sustain tank, like maybe a Chansey or a really dense Pokemon that has recovery options, then yeah, that's what you do. If Alolan Persian could come in, you bring it in as like a response Pokemon, you just tap the opponent, you know, Fake Out, hit him with a foul play, hit him with a play rough, hit him with something, and then after that you just switch out into your tank Pokemon, they take the hit. It's going to be like a physical tank or a special tank or something. You recover up, and now your Alolan Persian was able to kind of give you some momentum, and it's scary. If your opponent has like 2 Pokemon under 40% at the end of the game, you win. If they don't beat that 115 speed, foul play, the game is yours. So there's going to be some interesting options with potentially having this Pokemon work for you. You can like attract cheese with speed. It's also status. You can just play a quicker status game, do some weird things, charm, all kinds of, yeah, amnesia, charm. There's stuff. Now, foul play is an egg move. We don't know how the egg moves are going to work. I'm just kind of like seeing this, that there's going to be some kind of egg move replacement, or the moves are going to be added in some kind of way. Maybe there's going to be like a tutor that just kind of gives access to all the Pokemon's moves at something. So we don't know for sure. I'm just kind of like, all right, no items, abilities, full move pool access. Maybe not on the like the actual like tutoring and stuff. So we're not going to see a lot of knockoff. Maybe it's going to be weird, but overall, like, I think we can still make a decent theory craft as to what's going on by thinking reasonably about what we're looking at. Golem, I don't think Golem's going to be that great. I don't think this is going to be great on the Alolan Golem. You have bulky electric, so if that finds a niche, that's going to work. Alolan Muck, though. Alolan Muck is already really good. Like, Alolan Muck is power creeped enough to be able to survive in the 7th generation, and that's without an ability or an item. Like, okay, Gluttony, Confusion Berry. You get half your health for free. And when you break half health. So that's it. That's like the most you're going to get. Power of Alchemy, doubles. I'm not really talking about doubles metagame, mostly singles. Poison Touch, if you're gunk shotting anyways, doesn't really matter. Poison. So like all of that is inconsequential if it's running an item, a leftovers, a Confusion Berry. It's just got the good typing. So will ground-type Pokemon, well, you need a ground-type Pokemon on your team to be able to do something about the muck and its bulk, but it's really slow. So this is where we can see some shenanigans come in. Like, oh, what's that? You just bring in the Parasect and then spore out the Alolan muck? Maybe. You can do some weird things like that, and then you go into a ground-type Pokemon. Like, okay, Parasect comes in. Spore, you go into your Dugtrio, and now you have that speed, you have a free Earthquake, Golem, like, the Muck switches out, and then that means it's asleep. If it doesn't switch out, you're going to be tagging in a lot of damage. So there's some weird stuff that you're going to be able to do with this Pokemon speed stat and how it plays around. So that's the thing. It's also just going to be tanky, and yeah, it's just good. Like, ground is going to be needed. This is going to be the Ferrothorn. Like, how everyone has permanently needed fire on their team, like you're pretty much going to need a permanent ground or an earthquake, just some kind of power on your team to get over this bad boy. And even then, if we think about the Alolan Muck, again, I wasn't thinking about like these are things that are just coming off the top of my head right now. And then that means every Muck is gonna be what, 252 hit points, 252 defense, maybe Adamant Nature tagging that extra damage. Charizard X. So we know that Mega Evolution are in. What can the non-stab but very powerful Earthquake do? So Earthquake is going to be a 41%. So I feel like, yeah, even like you need stab almost. And even then, I don't think there's a stab Earthquake that'll be able to run over this Alolan Muck. That's scary to think about, but you are sacrificing damage, but then Muck gets like free Toxic and then maybe gets an extra hit and can like finish off weakened Pokemon that can't just directly one-shot it. So I mean, even like Adamant Nature 252 non-stab is scary. Nature Adamant, whoop, let's do that. And even if we did have like theoretical stab or Dragon Dance, still not enough to one-shot it. And that's, yeah, Tough Claws doesn't matter because Tough Claws doesn't apply to the Earthquake. That's scary. So you're going to need like stab, you're going to need boosting, you're going to need absurd amounts of power to get over this bad boy, which means if you can get that Alolan Grimer in Pokemon Go, you get yourself an Alolan Muck, and then you use that thing for trade fodder, or you just use it yourself. Marowak, Fire Ghost, adding to the Ghost type move pool, like a Ghost type Pokemon pool, it can do things. It's not the greatest, and then same with the Exeggutor. It's like, it's just adding on to Dragon. Doesn't have some Harvest shenanigans I can pull, but I think it actually has like a surprisingly high attack stat. But then Exeggutor is just good in general. Like, when we rewind it back to Generation 1, Exeggutor's got that Psychic going for it. It's got a lot of fun stuff that has a high amount of special attack. Alolan Exeggutor, it loses speed, and then that just goes into attack. So it gains Dragon, and it gains 10 attack. So maybe some mixed shenanigans, maybe not. Still remotely bulky, fairly slow, and I think one thing that we're going to have to be paying attention to is that it gets that synthesis, and we didn't see that originally. So now, imagine it like this, guys. We have Exeggutor from Gen 1 with Sustain. So, I mean, that bulk Exeggutor throwing out Poison against Fairy, throwing out Psychic against everything, you know, that Gengar is going to be fearing. The Shadow Ball versus that matchup is going to be interesting to think about. So maybe not Gengar, but anything that you can get that edge on, and then you can just Giga Drain. So you have dual sustain, triple awesome coverage, and then things are just kind of going to go your way. I don't think there's enough Dragon types to actually justify the Dragon Hammer. Like, it's a thing. And then Ice type Pokemon are kind of strong, but maybe the Wood Hammer just for like a nuke physical grass type attack if you need it. Maybe try to do something to the Chansey. I don't know. So I think that's it, guys. Looking at all the Alolan Pokemon, I'm excited, but this is what I mean. Like, depending on how the method is going to be, I say it's better safe than sorry. You get as many of these bad boys ready as you can, and then you go and slap people around with them, because like half of them are good. And might even be like, or they're either as good or better than their counterparts, and then they're just going to integrate right into the meta. Alright, so we got more Pokemon that 151 balanced meta. That sounds like fun. So if you guys enjoyed the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.